We asked you to meet with us today in regards to us wanting to release information regarding a double homicide that we have been working since September 3rd. Two victims were violently kidnapped and murdered. Subsequent to that murder, the homicide unit, as well as many other investigative agencies, have been feverishly and diligently working this case nonstop. And I'd like to announce today that we have apprehended a second individual that we have identified as being involved in that violent murder. He was apprehended earlier this morning in Birmingham, Alabama by the Birmingham Police Department, along with members of the U.S. Marshal Service. I would also like to add that Thursday of last week, we made another significant arrest in this same case. So basically within 30 days of this violent murder, we have identified and apprehended two individuals that had a significant role in that homicide. We'd like to thank all the police agencies that worked nonstop to help us identify and take these violent criminals into custody. One of the significant components of this investigation was information that was received through Crime Stoppers. Throughout this case, we have utilized Crime Stoppers to help us further the investigation, and that certainly helped out with the case this morning. So that's basically the release that we want to put out right now. The case is still active and ongoing. We do believe that there are others that have some responsibility in this case, and we want the public to know that anybody who had any involvement in this violent kidnapping and homicide, we will diligently seek you out. You will be apprehended, and you will be held responsible for your role in this violent crime.
How did you identify these two? How did you figure out these two guys?
Well, I'd also like to mention that I'm not going to give specifics on how we identified or how the investigation actually came to the point that it is right now, and that is for investigative integrity of the case. There'll be some questions I may be able to answer, but we're certainly not going to discuss all the specifics on how we identified people. Again, these are very violent offenders. We have extreme concern for anybody who may have been involved, and like I said, the investigation is still ongoing, and we do anticipate additional arrests.
What was the other homicide he was a suspect in? You released it from January of 2014 in Atlanta?
January 8th, he was indicted by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for his role in a homicide that occurred January 8th at 964 Farrington.
What was it?
It was a homicide.
I mean, how many people? One person?
I'm not going to discuss all of it's still an ongoing case. Still a lot of work to be done on that as well, but it was a homicide from January 8th.
What's the victim's name?
On which case?
That January.
I'll get that information for you.
What can you tell us about Wilson's arrest, the takedown? I noticed the U.S. Marshal said he was overwhelmed by officers.
We are going to leave the actual takedown. We're going to leave that for the U.S. Marshals to release. We've asked them to be with us, but at this time they were not able to make this briefing. But I will defer to the actual tactics on the takedown to the U.S. Marshals and the Birmingham Police Department. But we are very thankful for what they have done for us in this case.
What was he trying to pawn?
I'm not going to release the specifics about that. You please understand that this investigation is ongoing, and these are very violent people, so we still have a lot of work to do.
Are they part of a gang or something? Is that why you know they're so dangerous? Or just because
Well, I know they're so dangerous because they kidnapped individuals and executed them.
Could they be part of a gang?
We have no indication to support that at this time, but we are considering all possibilities.
And you also mentioned other people. Have you narrowed it down to what you think?
We have narrowed it down to a lot of other people. Basically, if you harbored anybody, or you helped them escape, or you provided them any help during their endeavors to elude police, you will be prosecuted for that.
Did you have 4 suspects initially?
I'm not going to talk about how many suspects we have.
Well, how many were involved in the kidnapping?
We're not going to talk about how many that were involved. We know at least 2, and depending on witness statements. But again, it's ongoing, and there are certain things we're not going to release at this time.
Do you know who pulled the trigger, or are you saying who pulled the trigger?
We're not saying it at this time.
So both suspects are charged with murder?
Both suspects are charged with murder, kidnapping, and various other charges.
They kidnapped the couple, call was made for a ransom.
That is correct.
Any motive? I mean, why kill if, do we know why?
We have, our investigation has revealed certain circumstances. Again, this is not time to try the case. The preliminary facts are the kidnap did occur, ransom was made, ransom demand, and then the victims were viciously executed. We picked up the case, and again, I'd like to stress within 30 days, we've identified those individuals involved, and they have been apprehended.
Obviously, whenever you have a murder suspect or homicide suspect on a loose, you want to catch him as quickly as possible. Was there an additional fear that more killings were going to happen if you didn't get them?
Well, we always take that into consideration. We take every homicide extremely serious. In our mind, there is no different degrees. They're all serious. They're all violent, and we treat every homicide case the same as far as how we investigate it. On occasion, we'll put more investigators on it and various other investigative strategies, but they're all taken with the utmost seriousness.
Other than these 3 people that they're charged with killing, are they suspected of kidnapping or harming any other people?
Right now, we're just focusing on the case at hand. We don't have anything to suggest they're involved in anything else right now, but the investigation is ever evolving.
So the suspect from last Thursday is also charged in the January Atlanta case?
No, ma'am.
So when she said 3 people,
There was a January case that he asked about.
Okay.
You got Wilson on the January murder, but Mr. Gay is not charged in that.
That is
Okay,
correct.
all right.
okay.
How did you guys figure out that he was in Birmingham?
Through excellent police work, through the U.S. Marshal Service, excellent work by the Birmingham Police Department, and Crime Stoppers information, and human intelligence.
The Crime Stoppers, is the reward available for someone who called?
Well, that whole program is about being anonymous, so
No, I'm just asking
Is
if they're,
somebody going to get the money?
and how much?
that's it's still under investigation.
But it's possible.
That is very possible. That's what the program is for, and it works extremely well.
How much is in the reward fund?
That is going to be up to the Crime Stoppers directors. Any other questions?
I don't think you want to answer them.
Okay.
We've gotten some information that maybe the victims, the initial victims, had come into some money recently. Is that possible?
Well, I would like to reiterate, we're not going to talk about the specifics of the case. So there's still a lot of facts that need to be verified. And again, for the safety of everybody involved, the integrity of the investigation, and just respect for the victims, we're not going to really divulge any specifics about the investigation.
When did you let the victims' families know that you had called the second suspect?
We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Again, there's certain, we've been in close contact with the family. Okay.
Do you know when he will be brought back to Georgia?
Depending on various legal issues, it could be as early as tomorrow, or
But you
the
haven't
individual.
heard if he's going to waive extradition.
We have no idea at this point.
Did they know, either 2 of the guys you arrested, did they know the kidnapped victims? Did they?
Well, as with any kidnapping, they do know there is some type of nexus. Now, whether it was a personal nexus is still under investigation, but generally when someone does kidnap somebody and demand a ransom, they have some knowledge of the behavior of the victims.
But you don't know whether they were friends or acquaintances or anything like that other than?
Not going to release specifics at this
We
time.
believe, though, that the victims were targeted rather than this just being a random kidnapping.
There are, that is correct. Yeah, there was a reason that those individuals went to that house. And that is also a DeKalb County case. So the kidnapping, the preliminary kidnapping will be worked by the Cap Police, and we are in constant contact with them.
But you have the homicide case.
Yes. All right.
All